What's up, guys? Welcome to the Mississippi Real Estate Podcast, hosted by Ryan Watson.
And I'm Tripp Spruill, where it's all about real life, real talk, and real estate.
Join us as we dive into the stories, trends, and insider tips shaping the world of Mississippi real estate.
Whether you're buying, selling, investing, or you're just curious about the market, we've got all the insights you need to navigate with confidence. So if y'all are ready, let's get real.
All right, ready?
I'm ready.
All right, guys, welcome back to another episode. We have a very special guest with us today. It is her first term as tax assessor for Rankin County. She's actually in her second year, and before that, she was the chief deputy tax collector for Rankin County. So, without further ado, we have Staci McNinch. There we go.
Yes.
I needed you for that. I appreciate that.
I feel like I've been a bad friend for these years because I just told her, I was like, I've been butchering her last name for all the years I've known.
Well, you know,
Yeah.
when I met Jeremy, my now husband, when he was pursuing me, forever I thought his name was McNinch.
Yeah.
And so finally, when I saw him write it down, I said, "You were mispronouncing your name. It's McNinch."
Yeah.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you. It's a pleasure to have you today.
Yeah, I'm super excited. Thank you. We know you're busy, super busy with everything going on in Rankin County. So thanks for taking the time this morning.
Well,
and we're
yes.
fighting weather too. So
Yeah, we got some bad weather. If you watch, this is actually we're a week behind technically,
Yeah.
so the weather is
Quarter
probably
week.
not going to be bad when y'all watch this. But
So we'll just get into it.
Let's
So
get into
Staci, tell everybody, tell our viewers, anything you want them to know about who you are, where you came from, schools, and how you got to where you are today. Where
Yeah,
you grew up.
so, I'm not actually from Rankin County, but I do have roots in Rankin County. So I grew up on the Mississippi Gulf Coast down in Harrison County.
Okay.
And my mother was a longtime county employee down in Harrison County. She retired as the comptroller for Harrison County and served in that position for many, many years. My dad retired from the Mississippi Highway Patrol. So we have a background
wow.
law enforcement.
that's some blue
Yeah,
blood.
so,
on there.
yeah.
Me too. I
We
was in
back to
law
blue.
enforcement for 10 years.
Really?
That's pretty cool.
You yourself?
Yep.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, we obviously have a special place in our heart for law
Absolutely.
enforcement. And,
Absolutely.
but my dad, grew up in this area. So he actually grew up in Jackson and graduated high school, Central High. And then he went to work for JPD, and then he went to the Highway Patrol Academy. So anyway,
Oh, cool.
and then they transferred him to the coast. He met my mom. The rest is history, as
Yeah.
they say.
That's
But
right.
my grandparents, and then I have great aunts, and I still have aunts and uncles that live and have lived in Rankin County for years. So I grew up coming to Rankin County all my life. But anyway, so went to college in Hattiesburg at Southern Miss and graduated in communications. Went back to the coast. My degree took me over to New Orleans and worked at WGNO, the ABC affiliate over there. So I
Oh,
worked there for
wow.
a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my emphasis was actually broadcast journalism.
Okay.
My wife's was that.
So
Tracy
really,
was in media and broadcast. That's crazy. We can
It
get to that later.
is. Yeah.
You learn about Tracy.
Yeah.
Learn something new.
it's
Wow.
funny. The people, when I say that, sometimes they're like, "Me too." I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. We were all starstruck at some
Yeah.
point in our lives, I guess.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and here we are now.
That's right. Here we are.
Taking a
Putting it
podcast.
to use.
That's right. That's right.
But anyway, that really wasn't where my heart was. And so I
Mhm.
came back. I had worked at Community Bank for many years down on the coast. It was actually Coast Community Bank at that time.
Okay.
And worked there and then just kind of stuck with that. And so I was in banking for 15 years.
Oh, wow.
Kind of moved up from a teller, loan assistant, lender. And then I did some internal auditing and after Hurricane Katrina. And there's an interesting story about that I'll kind of get into. But Jeremy and I actually met in 2004 down on the coast, and he graduated law school. We had a mutual friend. He graduated from Mississippi State in civil engineering, so they were in civil engineering school together.
Mm.
Then Jeremy went to law school. He got a job down with a New Orleans firm in Gulfport. We met through them, and again, the rest is history.
Yeah.
But so our story kind of begins on the Mississippi Gulf Coast with him living down there, and then Hurricane Katrina came through in 2005. He is originally from Rankin County in Pearl, so grew up, born and
Another
raised
Pearl
there.
guy.
Okay. Yeah. I'm from Pearl originally.
Yeah.
I don't tell everybody that.
Yeah.
But no,
Look, that's another
I gotta claim-
another space in my heart.
I
you
got to
know?
claim
Yeah.
Pearl though. I claim Pearl.
I said this on another podcast though. Pearl is a tight knit community.
It is.
And a lot of
Yep.
people that come from that community, we've had a lot of people
It's
so
very
far on the
tight-knit.
podcast that we interviewed
Yeah.
have come from there. And man, it's just shocking how much anyway, that Pearl folks they all know one another. I mean, it's still a very much
Brandon
small
is very
town.
similar,
Brandon's
too.
similar,
Yeah,
but Pearl just they have a pride about themselves that
Mhm.
I appreciate. So anyway, so praise from Pearl.
He is, and you're right. They are very close. And I always say, if you marry somebody from Pearl, you marry the entire city of
Yeah,
Pearl.
that's
Yeah.
right.
I mean,
Yeah.
and so,
Yeah.
and that served, me and my family well. But great, we love Pearl. So, but anyway, so we moved up here after Hurricane Katrina, and I'll kind of get into that a little later. But
Sure.
and so continued my work with Community Bank, and then had our first child in 2012. By the time I returned from maternity leave, I was pregnant with my second child. So, I guess I took too much time off, but anyway.
Yeah, same
Yep,
story.
y'all can relate.
Sarah's laughing over here because
Yeah.
she knows the story very well.
Oh, yeah.
With our kids.
Yeah. So, I mean, a blessing for sure.
Absolutely.
Trying, but definitely a blessing. So,
Yep.
I was fortunate enough that, Jeremy backed me and supported me and allowed me to be home with our kids for 10 years. So
That's
we have
fantastic.
3 kids, ages 13, almost 12, and 8.
Awesome.
And
I can attest for this. Their children are amazing and very well-rounded, respectful, young.
Thank you.
I hadn't met them yet, but I
young
can
men
imagine
and women.
very kinda like you.
My family, we're fortunate to be friends with Staci and Jeremy, and our kids go to the same school, so we see a lot of each other. And we can get into this later too, but Staci and I also served on Rankin leadership, and then we do a lot with the ACS, American Cancer Society. So anyway,
I was thinking about that on the way over here.
Yeah,
we've kind of done life together for a long time.
We have, yeah, we kind of have,
cool.
actually.
Cool.
And we've got a lot of stuff that we can cover with you, obviously, but we might tie in some. I would like to tie in some of that community involvement towards the end, for sure, because I think that's important, and I know you think it's important.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
So after children.
So we've had children.
So we're
stay at home mom for
10 years. And so I always knew I would go back to work. Jeremy's an attorney and he does family law. Mm-hmm. And so his practice is just, he says all the time, I could have, 25 attorneys in my office and keep them busy. It's just, unfortunately and fortunately, because there are some good parts to family law, but it's a busy, busy area. And so, once the kids all got in school, I knew that, I would go back to work, and we were kind of trying to figure out where that would be, what that would be. And I had an opportunity. The tax collector, Caroline Gilbert, was serving in her first term, and she called and said, I'd like to pick your brain about some things. And I didn't actually know Caroline. Yeah. And so anyway, she offered me a position with her office, and I went in serving as Chief Deputy Tax Collector.
That's where that came in.
That's right.
Okay.
And so... Okay. And getting into that office and then realizing that the assessor was actually going to retire soon. Had no interest in getting into politics. I have my parents were both in politics down on the coast.
I was going to ask if that's what led in the tying, because you just talked about banking.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm like, well, bank into political, public service. That doesn't, I guess it could. But then you said your mom was comptroller and then your dad was, I was like, that's where it is.
Yeah.
Okay. So you kind of plugged it in younger in life.
It does. Okay. And, I think really you find that when you grow up under public servants, because that's what they were.
It's a busy lifestyle.
It is a busy lifestyle.
And everything's out there.
That's right. But you begin to see them serving others, and so it just kind of becomes part of who you are. You know, it's embedded in who you are.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that is kind of... I thought you were about to say something. I would also tie it in too, and y'all are and we don't get too religious in our podcast, but we do bring it up because we're both Christian, and I know y'all are a Christian family, but that serving part, that serving heart comes from obviously your mom and dad, which led them to public service, and then you rounded back into it.
Exactly.
So that could even be a tie-in.
Absolutely.
It's a God thing.
That's absolutely right. And, it's like they say, when you're serving, you're getting so much more.
Oh, absolutely.
Than
if anybody modeled it the best was Jesus at serving.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so what does a deputy... Chief Deputy Tax Collector. That's a mouthful. What do you do under Caroline Gilbert?
So when I was with Caroline, I was just kind of... in her absence, I was her. If there was a question that came up, if there was, a decision that needed to be made. So I was kind of that liaison to make up that gap
I
between
gotcha.
she
Sure.
and either the public or she and the staff. So whatever the case may be.
Yeah. Was there any experience at Community Bank that helped you with the tax collector assessor office?
As
Or
a lender,
yeah,
you are
always
reading appraisals,
numbers.
you are,
Yeah.
all of the financing and all of that going into
Yeah.
purchasing property.
Yeah.
So you have an understanding of it, on
Yeah.
the front side.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's funny because assessing, what I currently do now, tax assessor, it's multifaceted.
Mhm.
And so there
Mhm.
were so many things that I kind of thought I knew before I got into this that I realized, I didn't have a clue about that.
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
know about that.
Yeah. So learn kind of on the job learning. too,
Yes.
like most people,
Absolutely.
specialists in the real estate world. Okay. So you did that,
Mhm.
and then the seat opens up.
That's right.
And you have this conversation and say, I'm going out. Talk a little bit about the political process and campaigning and
Okay.
you're getting into now everybody's spotlight's on you and people are just going to, find out.
So after having worked there, I started there in October of 21.
Mhm.
And when I started there, I guess I found out, let me back up. In 2020 and 21, I served as president of the Junior League of Jackson.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so, as we're all very much aware, COVID was
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
full effect at that
Yeah.
point. And so I facilitated and oversaw all of our fund development projects
Mhm.
through COVID. And so one of our largest fund development projects is Mistletoe Marketplace. And so that was a really tricky thing. When the world was kind of shutting down, we had to assess and look and say, how are we going to, come up with the money that our community partners are depending on? What does that look like? How can we scale it back and proceed with these things so that we're not really crippling our organization and we're also supporting our community partners. And so I and my board, because it wasn't a one-sided thing,
Mhm.
made the decision to move forward. And so what we did is we just scaled everything back.
Yeah.
We implemented some protocols that, we did some masks and we tried to maintain the spacing but the biggest thing was just scaling back on ticket sales.
Right.
And I think if y'all have ever been to Mistletoe Marketplace, it is slam jam
Oh,
packed.
yeah.
It is one of the events of the year.
Yes, it is. And
Yeah.
it's a tremendous fundraiser.
Yeah.
And the Junior League is so fortunate that we do have endowment funds, but I didn't necessarily want the legacy of that board to be dipping into those funds,
Yeah.
so significantly.
Yeah.
And I knew, and I had the support of people that also knew and believed that, that's a pretty powerful organization
Yeah.
of women. And so we can think through this and think
Mhm.
we can do this in a way that, is maintaining safety
Yeah.
and, still accomplishing our goals. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
so we did that in 2020. And so that occurs in November.
Yep.
And so in October, our house had flooded.
Mm.
And so we had a water main bust in our house. And so we had been displaced and we were living in a hotel. So I was living in a hotel. I was,
I remember
facilitating.
this, actually.
And
Yeah.
oh my gosh. So we were facilitating largest fundraiser for our organization through COVID.
Mm.
And
While you're in the hotel.
while we're in the hotel. And we were in the hotel for
With
3
3
months.
kids.
With 3 kids.
And a dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you remember we also had that big ice storm that year?
Yeah.
It snowed and
Yeah.
there was a big ice storm
Yes.
while we were in the hotel.
Yeah.
So
That's a
anyway,
mess
I was
right
a
there.
little maxed out, but I just did a lot of breathing and a lot of praying. And
Mhm.
Yeah.
but somebody called me one day, and I'll never forget this. I was sitting in the parking lot of the hotel, exhausted, and I was so exhausted that I couldn't even get out of my car. So I was just sitting there. And so I got a phone call, and somebody said, our tax assessor is retiring. They have said they're not going to run for reelection, and we would love for Staci to do this. This is Jeremy retelling me the story on the phone.
Yeah.
So the person that called was my husband.
As if you don't have enough on your
I
plate.
know.
You're like, let's go campaign.
And
Oh.
yes. And so I'll never forget. He said, "What are your thoughts?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, I'm flattered. But the answer is no. I have had a belly full of public service, of community service,
Oh, yeah.
and I am tired. I just
Yeah.
want to now come home and serve my family.
Yeah.
I want to get back in my home and serve
Yeah.
my family.
Yeah.
And so that was in 2020. Well, fast forward 21, Caroline calls me, asks me, she offers me a position. And so, well, Jeremy said, just try it. If you don't like it, you don't have to do it,
Yeah, sure.
And so I did it. I loved it. When I walked through that door, my mom was up here because we were, trying to transition back into me working full time.
Mhm.
And so my
Yeah.
mom was up here, thankfully, kind of helping with that. And I came in and she said, well, how was it? And I said, I believe 100% the Lord has put me here, and this is my mission
For
That's
field.
cool.
purpose. And then you got voted in.
And so then, I spent some time over in the office.
Yeah.
And I recognized that there was a need in that office for something different.
Yeah.
And I have, retained most of the staff in that
That's
office.
fantastic.
And
That's cool.
they have been amazing.
Good.
And they have been a blessing to me.
Mhm.
I hope I've been a blessing to them. But
So what I'm hearing is McNinch found her niche.
Oh, there you go.
I like it.
Man, you
Right.
may have just gave her a tagline.
Yes, that's the new
So
one.
here's the thing. You just heard her say her husband's running this, partnering in or running this. Well, I mean, they're a well-known firm, right, in family law, and super busy. The kids are involved in a lot of stuff, and she's involved in
We
a lot
can
of
plug
volunteer
that
work.
firm too. What firm is it?
Yeah,
McNinch Law Firm.
Yeah.
McNinch.
They're right here in
They-
Brandon,
they're-
just
yeah.
almost across the street.
you
Yeah,
go.
they are. That's right. And so, but when she was campaigning, he never missed an opportunity to go hold a sign or y'all holding events,
That's
and
cool.
the kids were involved. I mean, it was something to see.
That's
And
cool.
we all knew you were busy, and we're just like, I told Tracy one time, I don't know how y'all are like Energizer Bunny. Y'all just keep on going. But anyway, so you get in the office. I know we could talk a lot on the campaign trail, and that's a whole different thing. And we got a lot to cover, but we probably bring it back,
Yeah.
because we're in tax season, right?
Absolutely.
So now you're in, and I know you're doing a great service to the office, but we're in real estate, so right now it's tax season, so everybody's wanting to know about homestead.
Yeah.
The question of the hour, right
Yeah.
there.
So can you explain just a little bit about what homestead exemption is and who really kind of qualifies?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So homestead exemption, so April 1st is the deadline,
Yep.
and you can begin filing from January 2nd to April 1st, and it's on the property that you acquired, purchased in the prior year.
That's right.
So let me stop real quick. When this airs, you'll have about a week
To
left.
get on it.
I think a week or 2 weeks, I believe. Couple weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
2.5 weeks. Something like that.
So y'all better hurry up.
Yeah.
You're gonna be
So
dead.
April 1st is the
Sorry to
deadline.
interrupt you.
No, April 1st is the deadline. And homestead exemption is essentially a tax benefit and a bit of a relief
Yep.
to encourage home ownership.
Yep.
And so it's something that was passed by the Mississippi, state legislature. But it puts you in a different taxing rate. So when you have homestead exemption, when you file for homestead exemption on your property, it takes you from a 15% tax rate to a 10%. So it literally, we have 5 classes of taxes. So class 1 is, owner occupied dwellings.
That's right.
2 is commercial, or if you own a home or if you're renting a home or, rental property, things like that.
Yeah.
And so then you go on to like public utilities and
for y'all, is there a class for? I'm sure there is for like veterans.
There's not a class,
Okay.
but what that is, so if they come into our office, that's a special exemption. And if they come into our office and file for that special homestead exemption, then they do receive more of a benefit and more of a relief. And so there are different areas of that. So over 65, gets up to $7,500 of assessed value waived.
Okay.
And
that's a lot of money.
It is.
Yeah,
and
that's
so
a
when
lot of
you're
money.
being taxed at the 10% multiplier instead of the 15%, it really is. It makes a tremendous difference.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you have over 65, which is one special exemption area. You have complete DAV, 100% disabled, which, is fully exempt.
Yeah.
And then you have 100% Social Security disability, which is also 100% exempt.
Oh,
So.
wow.
Okay.
That's great.
Cool.
So that pretty much gets into the benefit. So for it's a benefit to the homeowners to encourage home ownership. So for you investors out there, kind of like myself, if you have a secondary home, you cannot qualify for this. So when you're doing your numbers, right, in an investment, if you're getting into at a spot where you can do single family rentals or whatnot, you need to account for the tax to be
15%.
15 and not 10 like
That's right.
Homestead provides.
That's right.
So you can only do it on your first mortgage.
That's correct.
Yep.
Okay.
You can
And
only
you have to
receive.
be the homeowner, right?
That's
so
correct.
That's got to be the primary.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah. So what's the process so just explain a little bit about the process for applying for home
If somebody's never done it before.
Yeah, if you got a first time home buyer, or even for those that
just had never done
buy
it.
one in the year prior, middle of the year going in the next, just kind of hit on some of the process.
Yeah, so I'll kind of start with first time. If you're purchasing a home, you would come into our office. Like I said, it would be on the prior year's purchase. You must own the home by January 1st of the year that you're applying.
Okay.
And so January 1st is just that drop dead date. And you would come in, and there's an application that we would complete for you, and we would need social security numbers. We would need tag numbers registered here in the county in which you're filing.
Yep.
And, obviously your other personal information.
Yep.
And then we submit that. We receive that. We get it approved, and then we send it to the Department of Revenue, and they'll kind of check it out from there.
Yeah, cool.
If there's somebody that comes in, let's say you owned a home for 5 years, and you look up one day and Sarah goes, golly, our taxes went up $1,000 this year, $400, whatever. I wonder what happened. And you can just come in and ask, and we may be like, you've never filed homestead exemption.
Right.
So at that point, you can do, if it's within January 2nd to April 1st, you can file regularly.
Okay.
Regular process.
Question real quick. Is that something that you see often?
We do.
That's common?
You would be very surprised. Absolutely.
To file it?
Yes.
Okay.
And
that's why you see all these realtors jump on at the beginning of the year for all their buying clients. Is like, hey, homestead, they hammer it, so I'm gonna do it too. My buyer,
you got a couple weeks.
Yeah,
you got a couple weeks.
Hadn't done already. You got the lady right here in charge saying, "Get it done."
Get it done. You will be glad you did. But if you come in after April 1st and you're like, I've owned this house for 5 years and I can't believe I've never filed homestead. My wife told me I needed to do it because, that's what we do.
Oh, yeah.
And
that's definitely what mine does. And a lot more.
Oh, my.
They say behind every successful man is a nagging wife.
Is it nagging? Is that the nagging?
Look, just keep her happy.
I thought it was beautiful.
That's beautiful. Okay,
yes,
beautiful.
Yes, that's right. That's
it ain't working.
That's what y'all say.
I'm getting points. I'm getting points right now.
I don't think you are, but anyway.
But anyway, if it's after April 1st, then you would come in and we would do what's called a Class 1 affidavit, and we would probably require some kind of utility bills, and we would then at that point we would give it to you for that year, and that is truly taking you from Class 2, where you were being taxed 15%, and putting you in Class 1.
Yeah.
So that's
saving you money, and so it's very fixable.
Yes, absolutely.
If you forget.
Yes.
What kind of jump in price is that? I mean,
so if you think about it,
I guess it depends on the house.
Probably.
The house.
It does, and so $200,000 house. If you're being taxed at 15% of that, what is that?
Whatever math is.
We're all boys. Cut this out.
Can somebody do some math?
I'm always a calculator guy anyway.
Maybe I should have done it on $100,000 house.
Yeah, 100,000. That's more my level. 100,000. We're real estate agents.
I mean, it'll be a little over 20,000.
And look, we've
times 15%, 15,000.
There you go, guy. Look, that's why we have calculators.
Exactly.
And editors.
Yeah, that's right.
So 15,000 to 10%.
Okay, so that is your assessed rate. So $15,000. Okay, because you're at 15%. Then you would multiply whatever millage rate you're in. Okay. So let's just say, and I brought my handy dandy millage rate chart. Of course, I don't have my glasses, but let's just say, okay, so Pearl has a pretty good. All right, so you would then multiply that times the millage rate of 127.44. Now, a millage rate, a mill is 1/1000th. So you would move that decimal point over in front of that one. So it would be multiply that 15,000.
I learned this when I was in real estate
estate
school. I also forgot it.
And you do 15,000.
All right, 15,000
times 0.12744.
12744. 0.44.
No, just 44. 0.12744. All right.
Equals $1,911.
All right. So that's without homestead exemption on a $100,000
So
house.
$1,900 on a $100,000 house.
Mhm.
Okay.
All right. So easy math, $100,000 house. If you have homestead, $10,000. So then you would take
so
10,000.
10,000 times.
And because my memory is
0.12744 equals $1,200.
So you save about $700.
Yeah.
Hey, in April 1st, right?
That's right.
You better get on it. That's $700 you can put towards
in this day
car
and age,
notes.
You can't find a $100,000 house.
No,
well,
you cannot.
Yeah, well, in this day and age, you can't find a $100,000 house, but
it's going to be much more than that if you have a more expensive house.
Yeah, 100%.
So
but what I was going to say is any amount of savings in this economy, especially right now, is something to to not scuff at.
That's right.
So you brought it in. You brought in the millage rate, which I'm glad you did, on a very, very basic level of millage rate. Like, really, what is, because you hear that, and a lot of people don't really truly understand what a millage rate is. You hear about the property taxes going up, and you're like, oh, my millage rate going up. But kind of loosely, or I guess in layman terms, explain what
where does it come from?
Yeah.
So, okay, oftentimes what I tell people is that is essentially your tax rate.
Yeah.
The 10%, the 15% is really your assessment rate. And so, but the millage rates, where they come from, so within municipalities, the board sets their city millage rate, and then the county sets their county millage rate.
And that's probably kind of brought down from a federal level, you would say, or no?
I think states can,
or just states can do that, I guess.
Yeah, I mean that's a local level. So so wherever you are, your local government is in charge of telling you what your tax rate is going to be. Right. So in layman's terms, it's your tax rate that you're paying.
Okay.
But it's just a multiplier to say how much you're going to pay in taxes.
I got you.
Yeah.
So, but I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And they're different for every. Yep.
That's right.
So
and
Pearl's
so
got a different one.
Pearl have a different one.
That's
Madison's different.
Exactly.
Reservoir.
And that would be why.
Brandon's different.
That would be why you pay more for a tag in Madison County or Hinds County.
That's correct. And so one thing to remember, so Rankin County, we have one millage rate that applies to the entire county. And so you have some people that live in 047, which is in an unincorporated part of Brandon, that they don't have to pay city. But if they're in 042, they have the county rate plus the city plus the school. So county and school applies wherever you are in Rankin County.
Right.
Yes.
But city rates, city millage would be depending on where you are.
Yeah. So I live in that unincorporated area in 047. And this is not the proper terms, but I always say when people are looking for houses, or the zip codes, I'm like, oh, you won't confuse Brandon 047 or Brandon proper. So I don't know if that's correct terms. That's just over the years what I've heard and I've kind of picked up on too. So I live in confused Brandon.
Yeah.
Well,
the reservoir.
Yeah, when I first moved up here, I would hear people say, "Oh, you live in Brandon Reservoir or Reservoir Brandon." I can't remember which way they would say it. And I was like, "No,
I have Brandon address."
I mean, I don't know. And so it took me some time to understand that as well.
Well, there's a lot of confusion because it's it's kind of sandwiched in between 042 and then Flowwood, you know what I mean? And Flowwood has been annexed and then coming on out, so it's easy to get kind of confused.
Well, you're a Northwest Rankin
Cougar.
Yeah. So that was very confusing growing up over in Flowwood.
Well, it wasn't annexed then. Yeah, it was still 047.
Oh, well.
Brandon it wasn't.
It probably was by the time I got there.
I don't know. I can't remember. Yeah, you're younger than me. Here we go.
That was
okay. So we're gonna go.
Moving on from how old we are.
Yeah. So
I got to get him any chance I get.
I know he digs on me all the time.
That's right. Yeah.
So we get so it's all based on property. So property values and assessments. So everybody we've asked this before. When do properties get reassessed? So is this a reassessment year?
So every 4 years is a reassessment year.
Okay.
And so we just had a reassessment year last year in 2024.
Okay. Yep.
In addition to that, it was also an update year for us, which means we updated the state manual. And so I'll kind of explain that a little. And I'm sure many people watching this are going to be saying, yeah, I want to know why my taxes went up.
Well, this would be a great time to explain.
Yeah.
So go ahead and get into it.
And so And what I always try to help people understand is that in our office, in my office, in the tax assessor's office, we are not responsible for the amount of taxes you pay.
Okay.
Now, we are only responsible for valuing property. We
Okay.
place a value on all property in Rankin County.
Real property, personal property.
That's right.
Okay.
Yep. So that's our role in all of this. Now, obviously, the value of your property is a major multiplier in how much you pay in taxes, as we've seen.
Yeah.
Right.
But last year, 2024, we had to update the state manual. And what that means is the Mississippi State Department of Revenue, they push out a manual. It's a pricing guide, much like, the insurance companies have. I know y'all are familiar with that, but and just how much a window cost, or how much a brick cost, how much concrete cost, how much tape.
Sounds like a painstaking process.
It is. And so that was my first year.
You get to update the manual.
Yes.
Oh my. Okay. Gosh. I didn't realize that much stuff went into it. You're talking about
huge undertaking.
Yeah, I thought it was just like, okay, go ahead. I'm gonna let
and the manual's this thick.
Oh.
You think about everything it takes to build a house.
Literally just the dirt and a roof. I didn't realize it was the
fixtures,
building materials that go along into it.
Everything. We are essentially appraising property. And so, but it's mass appraisal.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so that's why it's different.
Which that's probably why the numbers go up or higher right now, because of how much everything is just
that ties into it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And every year I have to do an index study, which means I have to look and see what does it cost to build a house, and that's a multiplier that kind of.
We can tell you exactly what it costs.
I'm trying to build one, so I can really tell you how much.
He's working on one. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No. But we do an index study each year, and that is kind of a minor multiplier in accounting for inflation, or, so that's where we look at how much it costs to build a house in Rankin County.
Yeah.
Anyway, getting off of that, but we're basically appraising a property. So
so property value reassessment. So this is a reassessment year. Happens every 4 years.
Every 4 years.
Okay, so once it's reassessed, that's it until 2028-ish, whatever. Are you doing like we're going to draw circle? Like, is it a mass like these properties in this block, or is it literally individual?
So we're required by state law to do 25% each year. And so by that fourth year, we have reviewed all 100%.
Oh my.
That's right.
So it's kind of a cool.
So it goes on throughout that 4 year
That's
time
right.
period.
Because, and especially you think about in Rankin County, we currently on the books, we have over 81,000 parcels in Rankin County.
Wow.
That's huge. That is huge.
Yeah, that is huge.
And so, and I have 5 appraisers in my office.
Yeah.
And a commercial appraiser. And
well, I was going to ask, is this just personal, or is it?
No, I'm talking about real property right now.
Right.
Okay.
But yeah, so 5 real property appraisers and then 1 commercial appraiser.
So y'all do involve in the business aspect.
Oh yes,
okay.
Yes, and so then we have personal property appraisers, and so we have 5 of those as well. And so they're not on staff, but yeah, we contract with a company that does that for us.
So, y'all. Does that include, I know you said commercial, does that include everything the business owns as well?
It does.
Okay.
Okay. Furniture, fixtures, equipment. So if I were to come in this building right now, I would be looking at that bookshelf, the stools, what we're sitting on, this table, the lighting, all of that.
So what else?
We'll have to take these home real quick. So we wouldn't assess those.
What else? What else goes into that? Does like recent home sales do anything to it?
The index study.
Yeah.
When we do it each year, it does.
So if like a house sells for, $250,000 a year or two prior, and now it's at 320 or something, that goes into the assessed value too. Is it like the real estate, like the market value, I guess?
So we do not really deal in market value.
Okay.
It's kind of a measurable, like something. It's a comparable, I should say.
Okay.
But because if we come up with a value and then we look at the market value and we go, well, we're only at like 40% of that market value, the auditor is going to come in and go, something's not right, And so we typically, see ourselves, we're never, I shouldn't say never, rarely are we
Mhm.
at market value. What you pay for a house or what you could sell a house for,
Yeah.
rarely will we even be close to
So
that.
that's like when we go on, like when we're doing a listing and put it on MLS, and we go in, if they don't know their taxes, and we go on land roll, we find that says property value taxes, and we're like, and we have to disclose where you find it. We got it from the Rankin
Public
County
records.
public records. That's the value you're talking about. Whereas we may be selling it at 350, but your assessed value that's
It may
the
be at
difference, right?
280
Yeah,
or something.
that's what
Yeah.
we're seeing
That's right, because
Yeah.
we are valuing for tax purposes only.
only. Okay,
That's right.
Yeah,
that
gotcha.
is, we're not trying to get the seller most for their money, and we're not trying to get the buyer
Right.
a good deal.
Yeah.
Right.
We are assessing and appraising for tax purposes only.
Okay. That makes sense. Is there any process for the homeowners when you do the reassessment? Like they don't really have to do anything.
They don't
they?
have to do
Yeah.
anything.
Okay.
But
There's
I'll
nothing
give
to
you
turn in. There's
no.
okay.
But I will give you a number of examples. So last year, when we did the update and the reappraisal for Rankin County, what we did see is when people started receiving their bills and just, whoa,
Shock.
I
Yeah.
can't believe my taxes have never gone. They went up $400 this
Yeah.
year, or they went up,
Wow.
they doubled, or and so people would come in, and by the way, we publish. I want to give a shout out to Rankin County News, and encourage everybody, if
For
you
sure.
don't take their subscription, you should definitely, because
Mhm.
that's where we publish everything. That is our local newspaper.
Yeah. It's a public record, right? Anyway.
That's right.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
are required to publish
Mhm.
notices
Yeah.
in the local newspaper.
Yeah.
And so we publish in June that our roles are open for review. So
Mhm.
anybody can
So
come
they
into
can
our office.
dispute them?
Absolutely, they can.
I was going to ask if they ever get disputed, and
So-
how does that? And do they ever kind of be like, "Oh, we were off," and then do they ever draw back?
So if they want to make an official protest
Yeah.
or object their value, then they can submit the first Monday in August. The Board of Supervisors will hear any protest or objections to their
Mhm.
values.
Mhm.
And that's why we give them the summer to look at our preliminary roll
Mhm.
and say, well, that my property, there's no way my property is worth that much. Rarely is anybody going to come in and go, well, they don't have it assessed high enough,
Right.
But,
Yeah.
but yeah, and so if somebody does that, then they'll hear it, they'll take it under review, and then we'll kind of review it. But if they do it outside of that, then they can come in, and if they're like, hey, I just got an appraisal on this, and
Mhm.
y'all got it valued at $600,000, and they threw everything they could at this,
Mhm.
third party appraiser,
Mhm.
and he only got, whatever, I don't even remember what I said.
550 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we're going to
50,000.
require
Yeah.
an unbiased, appraisal.
Okay.
And
So it basically can be disputed by a third party appraiser.
and I'm not saying we'll take it every time,
I don't want to open the floodgates.
Yeah, no, but I'm
new
saying
tax year, and everyone's like,
you-
I'm disputing that.
you can't just come in and say,
Yeah.
you got my property value too.
Yeah.
We're going to
Yeah.
we're going to require proof.
Yeah. We're dealing with that in the insurance world. Everybody's like, replacement costs going up, and they're like, what in the world? Like, insurance is going up because of that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, it's not my formula, but at
Yeah.
the end of the day, that insurance company is gonna, if you're like, we got bad storms coming in, and we hope nothing bad happens, but
Yes.
if your house gets a complete loss, they're gonna pay you out on that, and that's the higher number because it does cost more. So,
Well, and
it's just funny how yin and yangs in different
yeah.
businesses.
And again, I mean, you can bring us everything, and we
Yeah.
can still look at it and go, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
because we can go up to like 100. We
Yeah.
can go over 100% of the market value.
Oh,
Now,
wow.
again, you would probably be hard pressed to find that ranking.
Yeah. So, okay, so that's a lot. I learned, I didn't realize that it takes, it makes sense how it takes 4 years to do a reassessment or whatever, but I was going to ask, what is a tax assessor's day-to-day outside of tax season? But it seems like the day-to-day is assessing properties just about every day.
Yeah, that's what it
It
sounds like.
is. I mean, as
Especially
you
this day
mentioned,
and time.
it really is. And I have an outstanding staff. I'm
Yeah.
so fortunate, and they are so knowledgeable, and I'm grateful that they stayed on with me and, just kind of,
Yeah.
not knowing what they were going to get. And so
that's a blessing, I'm
it
sure.
really is. And so, anyway, so they take care of most everything, but it's, as I said, I've kind of been drinking from a fire hose this last year and
I
learning
imagine,
things.
yeah.
And you've gotten several certifications too,
yes.
as you've come into the role.
That's right.
Too, right?
Yes,
So,
they're.
I mean, we'll tell people how they can find you. They can probably say all the acronyms. And you also have a very good. I know Caroline Gilbert personally too, and I've been fortunate to be able to meet her through my community service.
Yeah,
and she's great too.
She
and
is.
I'm biased because I know her personally, but I really think she does a good job. And you two in tandem, we may be able to get her on here one day.
Yeah.
You two in tandem, I think y'all do a
Love
fantastic
that.
She and I have, as I mentioned, I didn't know her when I went to work for her, but we developed a quick and great friendship. Our husbands actually grew up together.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
she and she's a
In Pearl?
CPA in Pearl. Yeah,
In Pearl.
There you go.
Hey,
Pearl's running the show.
I'm telling you,
there's some good that comes from Pearl, y'all.
There's a lot.
A lot of
good.
Okay, we got to talk
all
about
of Rankin County.
all of Rankin County. Pearl does get a stigma, but man, I'm telling you, once you find out more about how involved Pearl is, and again, the people that come from there, I mean, people need to stop.
I'm
I'm
telling
on
you.
a Pearl kick today. I'm sorry.
Y'all stop picking on Pearl. I'm kidding.
But if you married somebody from Pearl, in my case, we can pick on them a little.
Yeah,
That's right.
well, that's just the brother sister love
That's right.
of all the schools, right?
I can do it, but you can't.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. That's right.
So the day-to-day is pretty. I mean, it's really just involved. I mean,
It is. And so, and as you mentioned earlier, community service is really near and dear to my heart. And so that if I'm not in the office, and I love, one of my favorite things is just talking to people and serving,
Yeah, well, let's go ahead and jump into that a little bit, because I mean, we really wanted to plug Homestead because that's coming up. We can definitely pick different topics and have you back on here as you grow into the office and whatnot. But let's talk about the community service part of it. You're currently serving. Are you on the board? Talk about the American Cancer Society right now, because I saw you post something.
Yes.
And you're doing the Tickle Pink.
That's right.
Tell them what that's all about.
Okay, so Tickled Pink is a new arm of the American Cancer Society, and so last year was the first year. Yeah. Last year I served as co-chair.
Great name.
Yeah, and that,
Great name. Love the
they
name.
do a good job with putting with breast cancer awareness.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So this is really focused on the breast cancer awareness, and so we hold a luncheon in October. Mm-hmm. So this year's luncheon will be October 16th at the Country Club of Jackson. But I served under Jenny Simmons. She was chair last year, and I was co-chair, and so we just had a really good time. I'm always excited to do something new, do something first.
Absolutely.
And so we had a really great time and really outcome last year. We raised about $100,000 for the first year's event.
Yeah.
And so anyway, it's a real honor to serve as chair this year and having an amazing committee. So
and I don't know. I know from my experience being an ambassador for Real Men Wear Pink, or Men Wear Pink, excuse me. Real
men.
Yeah, you got to be careful, I guess, with that. But with Men Wear Pink, I was an ambassador role for 2 years, and I was in the trenches raising the money. And then last year I was on the board or whatever, helping the new ambassadors. And I don't think people realize how involved those campaigns are, because Men Wear Pink, it's technically all of October. How long does Tickle Pink go for?
So last year we had a shorter period of fundraising because it was a new event, and so we were kind of playing a little bit of catch up. This year we tried to jump on pretty early and start in January, just kind of brainstorming with some ideas. So our real fundraising will begin sometime around April or May, and trying to recruit sponsors and sponsorships and all of that. So, and all the way through the event.
And so American Cancer Society, they're big advocates for, and they have multiple fundraisers for all cancer. Mm-hmm. But I think the big ones you see people put out is for breast cancer awareness, because those are some of the big events. You got the walk, the Men Wear Pink, Tickle Pink. What other one they have? I'm missing one. I think that's in there. But
Strides.
Strides.
That's the walk.
That's right. Well, that is the walk.
Yeah.
That's right. If anybody wants to get plugged into that, you can just go on the American Cancer Society
Absolutely.
website.
And they have a great team too. I mean, Hannah Bird is our liaison with the society, and she's outstanding. So I've certainly.
What other? Are you still in junior league?
I'm a sustainer,
Okay.
which means I just kind of pay my dues and,
Yeah.
support them financially.
What does that entail? What I mean, not entail, but like, what does that serve? Like, you see some of the stuff at the auxiliary. What's their community involvement?
So we focus, Junior League of Jackson focuses on Jackson Public School area and the children in the Jackson
That's fantastic.
area. Yeah. So, but I've been, like I said, I've 21, June of 21, May 31st of 21 was my last day of my presidency with them.
Yeah.
And so I've been a little busy since then. So
Yeah,
I've not really kept up. I've not kept up as well as I should have with the number of projects.
You find once you get into the volunteer roles and you see if they do a good job, then somebody says, "Hey, you want to get on this board? You want to do this one?" And you're like, "Yeah." But the fun thing is for me, and you can speak on this too, I've got to meet a lot of great people.
Oh, yeah.
Along the way that I probably wouldn't have met, whether business leaders or other people just that share a similar story, and then the people that actually survivors and I did a lot with. So that there's a lot of things that just will bless you doing that stuff, and you really I don't know. I'm always open to any type of community involvement or volunteering or whatnot. Yeah. I think it's a benefit, even if it's just you pick one thing.
That's right.
Don't you believe that?
Absolutely. Yeah. And you have to be passionate about it. You have to be passionate about children you're serving or, my mother is a breast cancer survivor. My dad's mom was, she had double breast cancer. And so she didn't pass away from breast cancer, but she's deceased at this point. But
we always say that type of stuff. Well, I know we're leaning real heavy on American Cancer Society right now, but everybody, if you haven't been directly impacted, you have been impacted on a second ring or a third. Somebody who knows somebody. Yeah. And that impacts you more than you believe because it impacts that person and and then that you have a connection with that.
It runs in my family. It runs on both sides, my dad and my mom's side.
For sure.
We did something at the luncheon last year, and y'all probably do something with your events as well. But it was probably the most impactful. I ugly cried when it happened. I was trying to maintain my composure.
No more pat left.
No. It was a ugly cry. But when we were there at the luncheon, you're just looking out into the room and it's just a sea of pink, just beautiful. Yeah. And so, and you've heard all these wonderful stories. We've had the Survivor fashion show. It's just, very touching. And they said, if you, have been affected by breast cancer, stand up. And so those stood up. Or, if you've had breast cancer, stand up. Mm-hmm. If your mother or sister or daughter has had breast cancer, stand up.
Wow.
And, people would keep standing up. And then at the end, they said, if you know someone who's had breast cancer, stand up. There wasn't a single person seated.
And I think that's where people go, okay, because when you're asking folks to give, and it's tight. It's gotten hard. Look, last year was a challenge. We did very well. And that's just Mississippi, I think.
That's right.
We are. I still believe us as the hospitality state. We are the lowest of lows on stuff that hits national news. But when it comes to giving, we are up there. Yeah. For a state that is one of the poor states, our folks will reach out and touch other people in need. And that's, I think, when somebody gets that visual, you're like, holy cow, you have no idea. But it's everybody.
Absolutely.
When you think it's not, and you get questions like that, you're like, oh, it is everybody.
Oh, man. It was touching.
Yeah.
So,
I'd probably be crying
cancer
too.
Sucks.
That's right.
That's one of the many we used on that and whatnot. But what about ribbon? I know you're involved with the chamber too. And
I do try to stay as involved as possible.
Yeah.
It's hard to make it, to as many ribbon cuttings as I used to and as many as I would like to.
Yeah, I know. For sure. Same.
But I do try to go when I can.
Did you enjoy your time at Rankin Leadership? Now 3 years ago.
I did. It was so fun. We were the best class.
We were. Yeah. Yeah, Mandy.
That's right.
They just had
it's a friendly competition we have between all the classes.
That's right. They just had Cruderoo.
Yeah.
I think it was another big success.
I hated to miss it. We had ball tournaments all weekend.
Yeah, we were doing baseball too. I would encourage this guy to go through the leadership.
Most definitely.
I don't mind.
He would love it. Not only is it fun, but I met I knew a couple of people in there, but I met so many
The
people.
people that you meet, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah.
I tell you what it did. Yeah, so you meet a lot of folks. It gets you outside your comfort zone, and this is not just for you. This is for anybody that wants to be more involved with their. Whether you do Madison's or you do
Mhm.
Rankin, they're similar, or whatever county. If you have that ability to do so, and you're in a position where you can, I would encourage it, because we got to meet people,
I'll have to
right?
do that,
And then
yeah.
people got to know who you were in the community, which
That's
is a
right.
plus, right? And it just gets you outside your comfort zone. I learned so much more about our county. I had
That's
no
what I was
idea
going to
about.
say. There are businesses in Rankin
I
County.
had no
I
idea.
mean, now being on this side, I know of all the businesses in Rankin
Oh,
County.
yeah.
You got all
But
the
but it is the most fascinating thing to
Yeah.
go see. There are some rock stars in this county
There really
doing
is.
national and international things.
Yeah.
And
It really made, we always say, we're a small town feel, but man, we're doing big things. The
absolutely.
state's doing big things. I think
Yes.
I think it helps you realize that too. So anyway,
Yeah.
jump in there, buddy.
Yeah, I'll get in there.
Is there anything from your standpoint as a tax assessor, before we roll into just kind of getting close to wrapping this up, is there anything you want to hit that maybe we didn't? The importance of homestead coming around, or anything else pressing that might be coming up we can get some insight to, or did we kind of cover?
No, we really covered it
Yeah.
all, but just,
Value
just remember to
homestead.
get in there and do it. I mean,
Yeah.
you'll be
Make it
glad you
first.
did.
Yeah.
You will.
And if you're already a prior homeowner and you filed homestead, don't worry about the little yellow mailers that come out.
Well, you definitely want to check
Make
them
sure.
and make sure that
Yeah.
it's selected correctly.
Yes.
Make sure that if you have turned 65, and you look at it and go, oh, well, I'm listed under regular,
Yeah.
so I need
Yes.
to make sure they
Turn
update
that
that.
up. Yeah. So never mind. Pay attention to those. Little
Just
yellow
pay
mailers.
attention. Yeah, don't disregard them.
I
Pay
usually go
attention.
like, Tracy, I think we're good. So,
Might save you
I
$1,000.
might need to
Yeah,
go get that one
that's
out of the
right.
trash. No,
Yeah.
I'm kidding. Well, look, tell us. All right, tell us something about Staci that maybe not many people know, or what kind of office
That you want people to know.
Yeah.
Oh, that I want people to
You got
know.
a funny tax story,
Yeah.
or a funny office story, or just personal, whatever you're wanting to free
Well,
to share.
I'll hit on a couple of things. We have a fun office. We have really great personalities in our
Yeah.
office, and so we play a lot of pranks on each
Mhm.
other. So that's one thing. So we're always having fun in the tax assessor's office. And but personally, I think you and I talked about this a little before we went on camera, but that some people may not know is that Jeremy and I were actually married on the
love this.
Regis and Kelly Show.
Are you serious?
So
Yeah, isn't that cool? Yeah.
That is really cool.
yeah.
Oh,
That
yeah.
is
Can
that's a
you-
cool show.
You can get us pictures, because we'll
I
tag
think-
them. Yeah.
I
If we can get
think-
some pictures, that'd be great. Yeah, I'd love to
you
put
can
those.
show
On.
them.
Yeah.
Or is that okay?
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, in
It
today's
was publicized nationwide.
Yeah. I guess you're right.
Yeah. So how
Yeah.
did that take part? Like, how did you get there?
So as I mentioned, Jeremy and I met in 2004.
Mhm.
And so we had scheduled our fall wedding in September 24th, 2005 was our scheduled wedding date. And Hurricane Katrina hit August 29th of 2005. And we were to be married at the Grass Lawn facility, which is overlooking the Gulf in Gulfport. And then, so obviously that was gone, the
Oh.
coast was just decimated.
Yeah.
That's right.
And it was 26
Katrina.
days before our wedding.
Oh my gosh.
And so
Wow.
we had lost our home that we had just bought in Diamond Head.
Oh my
My
gosh.
parents lost their home because they live inland. They live in Sosha, which is
Ooh.
North Harrison County, but
Yeah.
a tornado hit their house.
Oh my gosh.
And so it was just, we weren't sure how we
What
were
were you
or
waiting
when
for?
we were
Yeah.
going to get married. And
Yeah.
then, we had some family pass away. And so it was just, oh man.
Y'all went through some trials and tribulations before.
We did.
Man, during your engagement and
We
planning
did.
for this. I guess I didn't know that part of that
Yeah.
story.
And
Wow.
so
Wow.
so our scheduled wedding day, September 24th, which was a Saturday,
Mhm.
they delivered our FEMA camper
Mhm.
for us to live in.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember
So,
those coming
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Green campers.
And so my parents, like I said, they live inland in Harrison County. And so we had 3 FEMA campers out in the middle of my daddy's hayfield.
Wow.
And so it was a
Little homestead going on there.
Yep.
Do you still have the
So-
FEMA trailers?
Oh, no.
No,
No.
they're gone.
No, yeah.
We got rid of
We-
those happily.
I remember because a lot of people were buying, they were
Yeah.
given the option to buy them after, and Jeremy said, no,
Yeah.
I do
Yeah.
not care
we're not
to
buying
ever
this thing.
see this thing again.
Yeah.
You know, and it was nice. It was really nice.
Yeah.
But it was just the memories of, you know.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
But anyway, so I worked at Community Bank down there, and you know, we were just really people had lost everything.
Yep.
And so people were coming in, they didn't have identification, they didn't have their safety, or what are they called? Lockbox keys,
Oh, yeah.
safe deposit boxes.
Mhm.
They didn't have maybe their certificate of deposit, you know, they just didn't have, we didn't have anything.
Everything was gone.
Everything was
Yeah.
gone. And so we were working, you know, running off of generators, and we were working in kind of donated clothes. And I mean, it was definitely a trying time.
Mhm.
And a girl that I worked with wrote in to Regis and Kelly. They used to do a wedding every year around Valentine's Day.
Mhm.
And so she wrote in, and we were selected out of over 4,000 applicants.
That is amazing.
And it was, you know, Jeremy's a pretty private person.
Yeah.
And he said, I was telling these people how much, you know, I had in my bank account. I mean, you know, everything, how much student loan debt I have. I mean, whatever they needed, how much my truck was worth,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So, he had an end goal in mind.
Yeah. And so anyway, there was a silver lining in all of that. And so they flew us and all of our wedding attendants and our families up to New York.
They got everybody.
What a blessing.
Everybody. And, you know, in Mississippi, you know, we don't do weddings small. And so when the producer said we can do one attendant each, and I was like, I'm sorry, we're out. Can't do it.
Yeah.
You know?
I got 13 bridesmaids.
I said I have 9 bridesmaids.
Look, we're in the wedding industry as well with our photography business. I promise you, just about every wedding's got 13 bridesmaids.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding you.
I'm telling you.
And so I was like, I have 2 sisters. He has 1 sister, so I'll let y'all make that call, you know, but I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
But anyway, and so she called me back and said I got every one of them approved.
Heck.
And so they flew us up there, put us up for a week. We were on the show every day, got to meet a lot of celebrities. Hines Ward, you know, was the MVP of the Super Bowl that year, and Harrison Ford, we got to meet him.
That's
and
crazy.
so yeah, it was a great time. And
I'd
we had
like to meet Harrison Ford.
and look, he's a lot taller than you think.
Is he really?
Yeah, he is. I mean, I don't know how tall he is.
Raiders of the Lost
Ark.
Yeah, man, Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah.
That was like my childhood. Like I had the hat and run around the house.
Yeah, that was the one.
You know.
Yeah.
So I think that was Harrison Ford.
They put this on the show. Mm-hmm. Were you nervous? Are you more nervous doing this podcast or doing did you go to the Regis?
Oh, I'm much more nervous here. I'm much more nervous in the presence of these celebrities.
No way. You're
I'm a celebrity.
No, I would have been. I just would have think like I'm about to say my vows on national.
Yeah, I was. Yeah,
or were you just so you're like, you know what? We've been through so much.
You know, I was highly medicated.
Okay.
I mean, really, I was. I mean, that was just a point in my life when I was like, I went to the doctor because I had the flu.
Yeah.
And when I started crying because she told me I had to take off work during all of this, again, we're working with generator and people have lost everything, and I just broke down like an emotional. And she said, and I'm going to put you on an antidepressant.
Yeah.
So I was on an antidepressant. I mean, you know, you may not want to put this on there, but
no, let's go with that.
We're putting on that now.
It'll make really good.
You can't say that kind of things to celebrities.
Yeah.
You can't say that kind of thing to celebrities.
Right, it's true. So yeah, Alexa Pro came in clutch for about 6 months, and you know, so I was kind of just going through the motions of life, really. Yeah. And but I was nervous, but also you kind of reach a point where I don't know, your adrenaline has just you're running on pure adrenaline all the time.
Yep.
And then you know it just I don't really know how to explain it, but
we're gonna have to have a picture of that.
Yeah.
So we can share it with our listeners, our viewers.
And
our viewers would have to see it.
We celebrated 19 years just last month.
Hey,
so 20 years next year. Thank you.
Yeah. That's amazing.
And my dad, you know, I was thinking about this morning. He said when we lost everything, and he said, if y'all can make it through this, y'all can make it through just about anything.
I was about to just say that, and I'm glad, you know, obviously way more coming from your father, but I'm like, okay, Katrina, devastation, all this stuff, and then you had the cherry on top, like, you know what, you got this super amazing wedding. super fun time, a memory that anybody involved with y'all, not just you and Jeremy, but your family and friends, never will forget that.
Yeah.
Over a time that was just like, oh, get this part over with. But I'm sure that helped strengthen the two. Y'all are, I know y'all personally, and y'all are like a poster child for husband. I mean, I respect you and Jeremy so much, and y'all are great people.
Oh,
And
thank you.
I think the trials and tribulations help build the character
Well,
y'all both
and
have.
after 19 years, I
Well,
mean,
sure.
we've had our share of other
No doubt.
trials, you know,
Yeah,
but
sure.
and I
That's
just
marriage.
remember that, you know, I think,
Yeah.
you know, we really can. And
Yeah.
so I'm grateful to Jeremy. He
Yeah.
gives me more grace than I deserve. I mean, I often say I'm thankful my daddy's prayers were answered, not mine. You know, that I feel certain my daddy was praying that, you know, I would just marry somebody that could tolerate me. And
Yeah.
so
Well.
so Jeremy does that well, and I'm so grateful. But anyway,
We need to have Jeremy on here.
I know, man. We just talked Jeremy up.
Yeah,
He, I mean, I know I'm biased,
He
but
seems
I
like
think
an amazing man.
objectively, I can say he is amazing.
Yeah.
So
He really is. And again, well, look, I know we kind of, we've got some storm issues we're dealing with today.
Yes, we do.
Seems
Yeah.
like school's about to let out and early for all of us. But look, before we get off of here, if you tell people where they can connect with you, find out more about you if you want to. I mean, you don't have to give out everything, but if you want to give social or maybe just the tax assessor office info, just where can people find and connect if they need to ask you questions, or just hey,
yeah,
and hey, you're a cool person and they can Facebook.
So I'm definitely on Facebook.
What's your cell phone right now?
Yeah. Well, you know, it's funny because my business cards, I have my personal cell phone on there.
Hey,
that is not a county cell phone. It's not my
that
county
says a lot.
office number. It is my
Y'all,
own
she
personal
cares
cell
about
phone.
Rankin County. She's very accessible. So there you go.
Yes.
Yep.
And so, I mean, I'm on all the socials, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn.
Yep.
And so if you can find me either personally or at one of the Staci McNinch, Rankin County tax assessor.
Yeah. So can they go to rankincounty.org and
they can go to rankincounty.org. It's a little more complicated to find it through there, but definitely. And you'll go, I think it's up in the left corner where it says maybe elected officials. And so you'll click from there.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah,
you can get there on that. Real quick plug. Tickle Pink, where can people go to learn more about that and maybe even donate?
Yes, so find us on Facebook, Tickle Pink MS, and then the links on there to purchase tickets, they're listed on there, and so that will be available a little later in the year. But yeah,
that's great.
So,
great. Well, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank
you
y'all
so
for having me.
Being here with us today, especially with the weather and taking time off work and everything.
I know I learned a lot. I hope our listeners learned a lot.
Yeah, I learned
I did
property
too.
value assessment.
I did too. Usually we're just like, you just got to go to the tax assessor's office and ask them those questions.
I'll be honest, it's complicated. Absolutely. It's multifaceted. It's like people think it's just one level. Like, give us a quick little, how can we whatever? And I'm like, oh no. It isn't just just send them to us. So.
Yeah, and us as realtors, we don't really. Did I say it right? Did I add 3 syllables?
That's all right.
Realtors, us as realtors,
you from Mississippi.
That's right. We don't like to get out of our lane. We want to make sure that we have the information. But if they go in the weeds, we always, we direct them to where they need to go. Our clients, whatnot. So, and we know your staff has a wealth of knowledge in yourself. So again, thank you for today and the knowledge you spread and the fun stories.
Hope I didn't get off topic too much. I tend to do that.
No, but anyway,
you may take us out.
Take us out now.
All right. Y'all, thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope y'all did get some useful knowledge about tax assessing and everything. Thank y'all so much. Thank you, Staci, for being here. God bless.